What do K-State fans need to know about this team?
I think the one thing that's really stood out about this team is our ability to connect and have really, really nice synergy and esprit de corps. Like, I was one of the things that I thought, having 10 new guys plus some staff members that are new. But the thing too I think a lot of us forget about is you're really bringing in the best scorers and technically the best players from every single team that you're bringing in.
Right.
And people are wondering why scoring's up or why scoring is the way it is. Well, these high major power teams are taking the Chaz Lanier, the mid-major guys, right, the Nate Johnsons and the Abdis and those kind of people, and you're bringing them into the mix. And next thing you know, you throw in a couple foreign pros that have been playing pro for a long time, and then you have a specialist like P.J. Haggerty, who was a second-team All-American. And so I think when you have all that spirit, that ability to be together, that ability to fight through adversity, whether it be Shark Week or whether it be when we went on a retreat and you had to do some different things that was really outside your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And the quicker that we can allow them to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, the more we've seen. And probably the last 2 weeks, it's really flourished. And you can see them, especially from the offensive side of the ball, their feel for each other, their understanding of each other. And Missouri's going to present whatever it presents, because at the end of the day, there's not much scouting, there's not much whatever when you walk into that game. But to see what the guys do when they get squeezed, a lemon, you're going to get lemon juice and orange juice. So when we get squeezed, what's going to truly come out and how we are going to work through that. Because 2 more weeks and then November 4th, it's real. And so it's come very quickly. I think it's come quicker than some of those guys anticipated based on how we have presented it to them. But I'm really, really excited about it because I think we've built relationships. And through those relationships, everybody's understanding, myself included, that we're trying to just become the best versions of ourselves. And of those 5 guys, like you guys, when they become the best versions of themselves, it's amazing how we can continue to help us not just now in where we are in the present, but also too later, and as the year progresses and we get to the Big 12, how that growth comes into play. So that's an exciting thing. And it's really been consistency. It's been our gratitude, our appreciation for what we're doing. I think toughness, which you guys always want to talk about, but it isn't about Jake Paul, or it isn't about Tyson getting old and fighting, Mayweather, whatever those guys are. That's not toughness. Toughness is the ability to do the next right thing, right? The discipline to be committed to consistency. And so when you have that in a servant's mentality, I think that's, to me, that's what's been unique about this group.
Jerome Tang, tough people do the next right thing.
Yes, sir.
He always says. Offensively, I mean, everybody knows what you bring for the offense. Is there maybe one part in particular that you really think can really help this team out, something you bring?
I think the one thing that I hope that I'm able to – the one thing about what we know is irrelevant unless they understand what we know. Because we can draw, we can speak, we can do all these different things, Twitter and all those kind of YouTubes and all those, and say this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't translate to them, and so I think the one thing is that really resonates with them is simple is sophisticated, and they really start to understand that, right? You talked to the Atlanta Hawks yesterday, and you're talking to the Chicago Bulls or the Hornets or all these different NBA teams that have come in, right? And they all talk about the same thing. They're talking about pace, they're talking about space, they're talking about those things that you're resonating to them. So now these 3-letter word guys are saying it, right? And now those things are what you believe in. But the simpler we've been, we've looked really, really, really good. And so that would be the number one thing that I would want them to understand, that sharing the sugar is so important, but sharing the sugar doesn't mean that you're going to score. Sharing the sugar sometimes is just the ability to get to the next action or the next action. And also, too, like, for instance, something they're learning really well right now is once I give it up, I'm likely to get it back. Mm-hmm. Now, if you give it up twice, you're not likely to get it back a third time. But they're learning that it's okay to give it up and maybe get to this next spacing on the floor. And then next thing you know, all of a sudden the ball finds me because this guy did that, this guy did that. And basketball is a mathematical. I don't care what anyone says. I'm telling you my opinion. Basketball is a mathematical statement. If then, if then, if then, if then. And so if you understand the if and you can perform the then, then you got a chance to be really special. And that's where players overplays, right? And, I mean, in the old days, everybody said it's the Jimmys and Joes, not the X's and O's. But really, like, ballers make plays, dudes are dudes. That's the way life works, right? And that's how it's always been for us and for the way in which we do things. So there's nothing special or magical about what we did or the way we did things at North Florida. What was really special and magical were the dudes that were doing it. Because that's where people like Chaz Lanier, he's not a 37th pick with the Pistons on accident. But there were a lot of guys before him. He just happened to be the most recent, and guys at Purdue and Indiana this year and whatnot. So it's really about the players. But you got to put them in a position to be successful. And I think that's what these guys have really embraced with what we've done with them.
Would you say PJ is kind of a perfect definition of a guy that's ahead of the snake?
Wow. You know, when you look at his numbers and you hear all these things about him, as a coach, you're really, really curious. How does it translate?
Right.
Like, how does it go from doing that and being that person there to coming into not just this league, but our scenario where maybe the last year or the last 2 years, right, weren't where everybody wanted them to be, right? You go from the Elite Eight and everybody starts saying this, that, or the other. And now here comes this guy. But the one thing he's really, really, really embraced, which I really love, is that there's 5 dudes and it's way bigger than him. And he's really understood. That's where going back to that synergy part, that I think the other guys are saying that too. Like, man, this dude he's real, he's natural, he's got a great personality. And the thing about him is he's not going to overpass. He's not going to overthink it. When it gets to be crunch time, like yesterday, he made 8 free throws in a row going down the stretch. When we were playing, you know, Andre made back-to-back threes, which got him closer, but they kept fouling PJ because the guys were smart enough to keep getting them the ball after you shoot 274 free throws. And so those are the things where he loves video. Yesterday I said this to him after practice. I said, PJ, I don't know what exactly transpired today or the last 2 days that we were off, Sunday and Monday. But I will tell you this, as a man, this is the best day you and I have had since I've been here. We were connected. We understood each other. We really grew through the different phases of the video that we've been talking about where you can improve yourself. Because I'll give you a great example. Mahomes is the best example in the world, right? How do you play in tight spaces and do the things in tight spaces like he does, right? So you got to understand angles. You got to understand space. You got to understand the gaps, how they shorten quickly. You know, he got away with that one pass on Sunday where he threw it back and the guy tipped it and you guys caught it, right? And so when talking with PJ, when you get inside that painted area or even a little bit outside of that, angles become different in the way in which you read it. So the better pivoter you are, the better you are at faking the make, and the better you are at doing those things, creating a little bit of separation, not a lot, but just a little bit of separation can create an unbelievable avenue for you. And here's the best example. The other day we played, I think it was Saturday, it might have been Friday. 3.5 seconds on the clock. It wasn't the game play. It was just the end of a shot clock. PJ Haggerty's at 8 feet. Pretty naked, like pretty good space. What would you think he was going to do? Shoot a floater, right? Because that's what he does. He scores. But he heard Abdi in the bottom X yelling, drift, 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 drift. And he, just like we practice, just like we work on, boom. And Abdi goes up, boom, 1.9 seconds when it left his hand. Swish. And to me, that spoke volumes of like who people think he might be, but who he really is. But at the end of the day, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, like NF said in his rap. And when you have that fine line and you understand it, when the game's on the line, he's going to produce for you because that's just how he is.
Being a guy coming from mid-major yourself, is there a fire that you see guys like Nate and guys like Abdi coming up to this level?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what, the ones that have been the most successful, and I've had quite a few of them, some of them that couldn't leave because back in the day when they tried to poach or cheat to get our best players, like you had to sit out. So you had to make a really, really tough decision. Do I want to go sit out or do I want to continue win championships and do what I'm doing. And they were fortunate enough to still get to the NBA Summer League and that kind of stuff. The thing about those guys when they come in, the ones that don't have a chip on their shoulder, the ones who don't talk about, I got a chip on my shoulder, because those are the ones that you always get concerned about, that they're more worried about the chip on their shoulder than they are about the good of what's ahead of them. The ones that are really special are the Nates and the Abdis, and those are the guys that say, oh, we'll see. Like, bring it, like, who we got? Who's next? Who wants to get it on? Like, those are the guys. It's not about, I got a chip on I'm going to prove something. Like, you don't need to prove anything, bruh. Like, you are who you are, right? Don't let what you can't do getting away with what you can. And you can do it at the highest level. You just hadn't had the opportunity yet, or when you did, Rutgers, for instance, right? You shined. So it isn't about a chip on your shoulder with these guys coming up. It's more about, I belong here, and we're going to get it. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to be together. And to me, that's the separation between those guys when they come up.
First real look at these guys on Friday. What do you want to see offensively from this group?
Shots and the ability to play through a mistake. And I don't mean a turnover. I'm talking about I should have, whatever we're doing, right? I should have done this. Okay, I didn't. Okay. On this. Okay, well then I'm going to twist it and do this. Or, oh man, I forgot. That's the other play. I'm supposed to forget about it. It's about players, not plays, because at the end of the day, everybody scouts everybody, right? So they might know your best sets or your best calls or whatever it is, but are you able to transition to whatever's next because they took it away? And that's what the beauty is about our forwards. They're so connected to what we do, and they're so good at getting to the next level for us, because if you take away them or you take away him or you take away multiple guys, someone's got to be able to connect you together. And so that's what I'm really, really excited about, is watching these guys, because Missouri's going to muck it up, right? I mean, Coach is a really, really good coach. He's a long-time guy. Obviously, he was at Florida State when I was in North Florida. He gave me a couple $100,000 checks to beat us, right? So we're friends. Obviously, if we'd have beat them, we wouldn't have been friends. But my point is, like, when you do this or you play against a team like that, they're going to create a lot of one-offs, some outliers, some situations where maybe you hadn't seen them. So how are you going to react? Right, how are you going to go on to the next action or to the next right thing, so to speak, is what we talked about earlier. So that's what I'm really excited about with this opponent. It's going to create positivity, and it's going to create an incredible mindset for these guys once we move into the regular season.
Got to talk to Coach Tang a week or two ago, and we asked about Nate. He said that it felt like he was holding back from him a little bit. Do you feel like that's changed a little bit over the following weeks, or is that still?
It's funny you say that, because he must have listened to one of your guys' deals, because he's definitely risen his game and he's upped what was going on in practice. And so it was kind of exciting Saturday in our inner squad. Like he was really, really, really good. And I tell you, another guy too is Andre. Andre's been getting better and better and better, and the reason is he's getting out of his own way. Like, he's starting to understand that things are going to flow. Because, when you play overseas and you play professionally, you play in those kind of systems and whatnot, sometimes there's the differences in terminology or the differences in what he thinks spacing is compared to what we need spacing to be. And Nate, like, the same thing about Nate. Like, he's shooting the ball way better now than he had earlier. And I think part of it is because Coach Tang's conversation with him about several of those things. So, David's been really playing at a high level as well too. And I tell you what, yesterday C.J. Jones was really, really good yesterday. And so that's the beauty of having six dudes, right? Xavier, he's a freshman, right? But when you have six dudes like that going at each other every single day, that competitiveness, when you get on the floor and you go get to play Missouri, it's like playing against SEC type of guys. So to Nate's credit, I think he listened well to Coach, but I also think he listened well to whatever was out there, the noise, which is good and bad, right? You guys aren't the end of the world, right? It's not like you guys should be, poisoned or sent away or not, whatever. Sometimes there's a lot of good that comes out of what you guys do, and we're thankful for that.
Speaking of some of the guards, one that wasn't mentioned was David Castillo. What does he bring to the table, and what can, I know you didn't watch every game last year, but from year 1 to year 2, what can he do to?
Yeah, especially as a freshman last year, and kind of what they went through, and the pressures that were transpiring as the season was going on, and it wasn't looking like it was going to become what it was going to become. That's a tough position to be in. And then to come back this year and to say to yourself, okay, I'm all in, and then next thing you know, there's a PJ Haggerty, there's a Nate, there's an Abdi, there's an Andre, like all these dudes, right? Not CJ wasn't even in the mix yet, right? And so you could do two things. You could, go in the portal and decide to go do something else, or you could say, you know what, I'm just going to continue to allow my work to give me the best opportunity when I walk out onto the floor, because Abe Lincoln said it, I'll be prepared, perhaps my chance will come, right? And the worst thing you want is an opportunity without preparation. And so to his credit, he worked his tail off. He really, really, really honed, like he's shooting a living pea out the ball right now. And it's exciting for me. He's really been convicted on, okay, getting my foot set, understanding that catch and shoot's your best bang for your buck, and understand what that looks like in, layups and dunks and rhythm threes. Like that's what we're trying to get. And the one thing that shocked me about him is I didn't realize he had such great change of pace and the ability to go get to the rim. And you know what he's become really good at? So you want to teach guys to do all these different things, right? And the one thing we teach guys to do is throw lobs, because you want to be a good lob thrower. Well, when I was at North Florida, we bought a ladder that had like a level on it, like a stage, and you'd stand on it and you'd catch the lob. I wouldn't dunk them. Every once in a while I dunk one, but you catch the lob and you say good pass and you throw it down, and they might get to another shot. So you're kind of up there standing while they're shooting from this corner, let's say. So I'm catching the lob, he mashes out, he shoots a three. Well, you're never worried as a coach because you're not going to get hit. And if it's a miss, it's probably going to go over my head anyways, right? It's going to hit the rim and go 7 feet, right? Well, I told Coach about it. And he's like, okay, that's great. He said, but I don't know about that ladder thing. I said, well, I always thought about using a volleyball setter's net. And he's like, well, let's ask Jason if we can borrow his thing. Coach, come on, we don't need to do that. No. Sure enough, the next day of practice, we had Jason's setter net. Oh, man, this is pretty cool. That was a good, I wish I would have done it in North Florida instead of standing on the ladder. So we start throwing it up. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen those things, but they tilt. So you can really tilt the angle. You don't want it like this and have the guy throwing it straight in, because then you got no arc. So you tilt the angle so that they got the real arc on it, was what you want, right? So we use it. It was really good. So the ladder's coming. So then we get done with the ladders, and he's like, Driscoll, what are you doing? And I'm like, we got ladders. He's like, no, I want the volleyball net. So we've been using it like anything else in life. You start working on those things. So that's what we taught him. And it's amazing. After the scrimmage on Saturday, one of the guys said, Coach, you're going to get a lot of nice volleyballs. But so you see what I'm saying? Like, all those things kind of tie into that synergy and that esprit de corps, that spirit in which we're having for each other. So to David's credit, he's worked on all that. But I tell you, the other thing he can really do is he can really body up and guard. Like, he can get physical with you and fight over screens, and you don't need much ball screen coverage with him because he's got the toughness to do. Obviously, Nate is Nate, and I think you're going to be surprised with some of the other guys because they probably have not as good a reputation when you're such a great scorer, right? Like Chaz Lanier, right? When you're such a great scorer, sometimes they think you can't defend. And I talked to a guy yesterday from the Pistons, and he was like, "Man, the Joker's a pretty good defender." I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, when you can score, nobody wants to talk about that."
PJ and Abdi and Moby, how proud are you of those young men to represent K-State here?
I tell you what, I've followed them, so I've seen them in a lot of their settings. And the thing I really love about them is that they look people in the eye. They articulate very well. They slow down in their pace and their pause and the way in which they're approaching it. And they re-ask a question if they don't understand where it's coming from. And then you saw the transparency of their heart when you really got into some of the questions that were off basketball, right? The different script. And that's what I'm most proud of. And with Moby, here's a guy that's a returner. So there's a little bit more onto him as far as like, what are you going to do? What do you bring? What do you see? And all that stuff. And he's been phenomenal in practice. His energy, his ability to really, really, really cause havoc, especially on the defensive end. But offensively, the thing that I didn't know and the thing that you guys are going to see is he's a much better handler than you think. And he's also a much better passer than you think. And it's crazy. At the beginning, he's like, Coach, I don't know why you have me. I'm not going to do. I'm like, listen, do what we ask you to do, the way in which we ask you to do it, and then you're going to see it all come to fruition. You just can't see the trees through the forest right now. Like, just trust us, because our forwards are huge in our offense. They're huge in our offense, and so it's been funny to watch him shine through that. I think he must have had 3, maybe 4 assists yesterday. And so he's an unselfish guy, but he had a block shot on Saturday that was ridiculous. Like from the middle of the arc to the corner of the not the square, the backboard elbow that comes up. You ready to roll? So it goes up. I mean, Moby just went and got that. And you're like, and I think Andre thought he had a naked shot. And next thing you know, Moby comes out of nowhere with the ability to affect or to adjust, alter those kind of shots.
You gotta get out of here.
I don't know.
I was gonna ask.
I'm with Coach. I drove with Coach Tanks, so it don't matter. We got practice tonight.
Your transition from being a head coach to how things are now, how have you handled that and how's that been?
Tremendous. Way better than I anticipated, because I really thought that I maybe was going to just kind of maybe fall back into what am I doing, or what am I, when you're involved with everything at a program like North Florida for 16 years, it's a lot. But it's been absolutely amazing. I tell you a good story. Coach and I were flying out together at the end of summer. We went through Chicago. We had about a 4-hour delay between our flights. Between that 4 hours, 3 of the 4 hours, he was busy on the phone, handling whatever he was handling. Me, I was in the room with him where all the food was, where the reclining chairs were, and I was watching video, just embracing what our guys had just done through the summer and building this and building that. And he was putting out fires or doing what you got to do when you're a head coach. And I say this with respect, I felt amazing. Like that ain't me anymore. Now, I can give an opinion, but at the end of the day, he's the head coach. So that's pretty cool that I have the ability to do other things. Carrie, my wife, she says we've gotten time back. Because in Jacksonville, we're the largest city by land in America, right? And here in Manhattan, you're 7 minutes from everywhere. So we've gotten so much time back with each other, with our family, with whatever, because we're not in the car as much and we're not as separated as much. When you're the head coach, you got to go speak here, you got to go do this, you got to go to this. And also, too, at that level, like, you wanted things to be perfect. So when the baskets had to go up and down every single day in the summer between volleyball camp and your players coming in to shoot, like, you had to do a lot of that stuff. And here, you're just not. So the transition's been, and of course, because of Coach and I's relationship, I mean, we're like thicker than thieves. I mean, we're really close, and the staff has been phenomenal. And you talk about Coach Peterson joining the staff as well too, another guy that had been with Coach, and my son. You got these 3 outsiders, so to speak, that have come in and joined that group that was here. It's been a really, really, really nice transition.
You also caught up with Scott Drew a little bit as well.
I did.
He's been known for developing a lot of league guard play through skilled work and drills as well. How are you incorporating those or adapting some of those drills and techniques to your own coaching as well?
Great question, and the beauty of me and kind of what I've done throughout my career is I've always been the guy, like when they got the job in North Florida, when Andy Katz wrote the big article about different hires, the one thing he said was, Coach, no one says you're a recruiter. And I said, well, I'm not. Like, the only thing I've done my whole life, I was a restricted earnings guy when I was at Wyoming and I was at Clemson. So all I did was develop. All I did was run practices. All I did was take care of campus when Coach was out doing whatever the head coaches do. So I really grew and learned how to be a head coach. Recruiting is not very difficult, especially nowadays. Recruiting is not very difficult. And so because of our development, and if you look at my track record individually as well too, you take what you took from the ACC, then you take what you took from Coach Drew, and then the Big 12, and now you develop your guys you developed. I mean, it's been league guards and has been really something that I've really, and I don't know why, I guess because of my size maybe, but Epe Udo, 6'11", 245, 7'5" wingspan, flew me to the NBA draft to watch him be the 6th pick. So it's been good to work with those guys as well too, even though I'm 5'8". So Coach Drew, he as a human being, he's different. And the way in which it was, I was the oldest guy on the staff. And Jerome Tang came in, and then Paul Mills came in. And here we are, this super young. And Coach Tang wasn't young by age, but he was never in college athletics. And so to be that guy and to mentor those guys for those 6 years, and now to be back in this role and have the ability to mentor our young people that we have on staff, and then to be with Coach Tang and help him in whichever way I can. Coach Drew is really, and Coach Shia, they've made a lasting impression on me throughout my career.
As a leader of men, what is Tang's greatest strength?
As a leader of men, what is Coach Tang's greatest strength? He's probably got 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say just his love. He has unconditional love. Like he sees no bad in anyone, and then he'll tell you if someone has faults, doesn't make him a bad person. His love is just unconditional. And when you have that, I think people are attracted to that, and I think they really, really want to see more about it. I think in the early years, I think a lot of people thought maybe we were, fake. Maybe we weren't who we really were as we were building this program at Baylor. But then all of a sudden, success starts coming. And now those guys that were shaking hands, hey, you guys are doing a great job, right? 5 years later, they were like, yeah, okay. Like they're walking by you, right? They're not even talking to you anymore. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. So I think his unconditional love is the genuineness about what he does. And I think, too, when you look at Coach, like his big deal, and you guys know this, I mean, I think I'm wearing it, like you guys know that not only is it about this, but it's about winning their hearts, and if you can go 1-0, but you do that with what I said, consistency, appreciation, toughness, and being a servant. But it goes back to the number one thing I said earlier, which probably all of you forgot, which is what we're starting to do here, right? Life's about dots on a map. It's all about dots on a map, and if you start doing your dots, I think I have 14 of them, and I'm going to put it in my office. It's getting done right now. Like those dots are why you are where you are, or because of those dots. And you don't know what that is. You have no idea what's going to transpire at those different dots, but they help you, they grow you, they learn you. And because of that, you take those relationships, we help each other become the best version, and next thing you know, like people want to learn more. They want to follow this leader that you're talking about. And it's not just Manhattan, or it's not just Kansas, or it's not just the Big 12. Like now it's globally. It's globally. And it's not just something that's just locally. And when you do that, his legacy, right? Like my legacy when I left North Florida, right? It was unbelievable. Like I wish everybody could hear their eulogy, right? Because you just don't know who you can touch or who you really can be a difference in their lives. And that's the thing about Coach. He's going to leave a legacy, and people are going to say, what is it? Like, what was it about? He cares about people. He's generous with his time, talent, and his treasure. And so that's what you really want to do. And that's the thing about Coach that makes him special.
I know you really love Manhattan, but here in a couple of weeks, and especially in Big 12 play, how much of a difference can Bramwich Coliseum make in that home crowd and the fan base? Only
because I've seen it live as both an assistant and a head coach. And as an assistant, when the students were right behind us, remember that? The bench used to be on the other side. And then as a head coach, on the other side, where it is now, as an opponent head coach, coming in and playing you guys, the students are really, really, really different. And they really create not just an environment, but they create more of an aura. When you come in the night before, it's a little bit eerie because it's so straight up, and it kind of gives you a little eerie kind of a vibe when you're in there kind of looking around compared to some other places that, I've played so many money games in 16 years, so I've almost been in every arena in America. But the other thing is, though, when you go through that introduction and you go through that game day and you go through that part of it where the students are unbelievably impactful and can make a huge difference in the game. But I think at the end of the game, and watching lately, following Coach Tang's games since he's been here and watching those games lately, I'm really excited to feel that live being on your team as opposed to always being an opponent, to being part of your team and to feel what that's like to be part of your team, because I truly think it's going to be something special. And my son's 30 now, right? We had a birthday party for my grandson. He's just going to turn 1. It was really cool. Carrie had all the children on staff. So pre-1-year-olds, 1-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And she brought out all of our old pictures from Baylor of our boys and Coach Tang's boys and Coach Drew's children. And she was just showing them, like, this is what this is all about. We've got to continue to create this bond, this family, right? This joy, this, as Coach Tang always says, we want to live life together, right? And so that, to me, I'm excited about being on your side and to seeing how this all kind of morphs together. Good? Okay.